let's talk about perspective. Perspective. Okay. Perspective is when you are trying to make the space that you're drawing look like it's going far away. So everything close to you looks like it's close to you, and everything far away looks like it's far away. Duh, right? I'm sure you're thinking that it's really hard, but it's not. We're gonna explore the concepts of how to actually make your drawings look more realistic. You're gonna be psyched when you find out how easy this technique is and how you can use perspective to make your drawings come to life. It's alive!
Let's look at this photo of the classroom to see how some elements of perspective are shown. So first of all, I noticed that the front table, you can see a whole lot more of the tabletop than you can on the very back ones. This effect is called foreshortening. That means the things that are further away look much shorter and kind of squat. They also look smaller when they get further away. Another thing is, if the tables were the same distance apart, if you look at them in a picture, they're going to look like the further tables are actually closer together, even though that's not true. Another thing we need to look at is the shape of the tables. So we know that they're actually rectangles, but in this picture, because of perspective, they look like trapezoids. And the trapezoids get shorter and more dramatic the further back it goes. This is all part of perspective. If you took that first table and just put it exactly the same way 2 or 3 times behind it, it's not actually going to look like those tables are behind it. This photo shows a lot more space, so we can see some more elements of perspective. First of all, notice that the flowers that are right in the front look like they are very detailed and bright and vibrant. And then you notice that the trees that are far away are barely detailed at all. You can only kind of see the basic shape. That's another technique that really helps push those trees far away from the viewer. Also notice that the trees in the back appear to be a different color than the ones that are closer up, which of course we know is not true, but it really helps with the perspective here to make those look like they're super far away. Lastly, we should really notice that the trees in the back look like they are teeny tiny compared to the ones that are up close. We know that in real life, of course, those trees are probably all very close to the same size. But this way, using perspective, we can make those look super close and far away. This will be the last photo we look at. I just want to point out how just the shift in color pushes those mountains to the back. You've got a much, much closer range that's green and dark, and then as it gets further away, they turn super light and a blue color. Keep that in mind if you're ever drawing something super far away to make it a lot lighter so it pushes it to the back. Let's just jump into what we're doing this week. This week's project is going to blow your mind. We're going to learn how to use a vanishing point to make our pictures look like they are going miles and miles away from us. So, to start this, you would really benefit from having a ruler. You don't have to use a ruler though. There's a lot of other things that have a perfectly straight edge you can use just as well. We're not measuring, so you don't need that part. You could use the name sign. You could use the edge of a book. You could use a box of tissues. Anything you've got that's got a straight line will work just as good. Okay, so step 1 is we need to draw something called a horizon line. When you're looking outside, a horizon line is going to be the spot where the sky meets the ground. I'm going to draw a lot darker than you should be drawing. Always draw lightly so that way it's easy to erase when you're done. Okay, so there's my horizon line. And now I need to make what is called the vanishing point. That's kind of where everything is going to vanish into. I'm going to put mine somewhere in the middle and kind of high up. Maybe about right there. Why not? Okay, this point is super important. Do not forget it. Now I think I'll start by drawing a street. I'm going to do a classic landscape, maybe with some buildings and some trees, something pretty simple. Okay, so first I will draw my road. I think I want to make my road pretty wide. Talking about foreshortening, if you remember that things that are really close up, or not things that are close up, the part of a shape that's close to you is going to look bigger, even if it's not really bigger in real life. So let's do my road. I'm starting right at the vanishing point. The end point doesn't have to be measured or anything in particular.
Amanda, please come to the office. Nurse Amanda, please come to the office.
Okay, so I've took it to my vanishing point. I didn't draw it up here because this is going to be the sky, so there's no need for me to draw this, this road in the sky. Now on the other side, still following my vanishing point, I'm going to draw the other part of the road. Ta-da! There we go, we have a road. It doesn't look much like one yet, so let's add our lines in the middle. This will probably be easiest if I actually use a ruler. I'm just going to draw really lightly. So another thing we got to think about with perspective is not only do things get smaller as they're farther away, but sometimes they also almost blur completely away to where you don't even see them. So,
me a janitor to the office, please. A janitor to the office.
So let's do the first line, and they're far apart. Things do appear to be closer the farther they get apart as well. Okay, so here's another line. I'm going to have to start making it a little closer and a little smaller. Just a little bit. And then they're going to be even closer and even smaller. Even closer and even smaller. Even closer and even smaller. And then it'll get to the point where it just disappears almost. They just look like they're barely even lines. Okay, so now it's starting to look a little bit more like a road. Let's add some sidewalk. Still using that vanishing point. I think I want my sidewalk to be about this wide. So there's my sidewalk. Let's do another sidewalk. Okay, now we need to draw the lines on the sidewalk. Also, one important thing to mention, when you're drawing in perspective like this, you want to keep all of your horizontal lines really horizontal, and also keep all of your vertical lines really vertical. Don't let the vanishing point change the fact that your horizontal lines need to be horizontal and your vertical lines need to be vertical. So I'm trying to keep these as horizontal as possible, and I see that it's getting a little crooked. Okay, so the lines are getting closer as they get farther away until they're so close they practically disappear. Okay, same thing on this side. Up close, everything is a little darker, a little clearer, and then as you get further away, they start getting a little more blurry and a little harder to see and a little bit more faint and close together and small. Okay, there we go. So let's do, I'm trying to think which side I want to do the buildings on. Okay, we'll do buildings on this side of the street. I'm going to go ahead and draw the basic line for the entire tops of my buildings. So using my vanishing point, I want the tallest building, I want it to be pretty tall. I want my last building to be like that tall. So you would draw a very light line, but I'm going to draw a pretty dark one, just so you can see it. Okay, that's going to be the tops of all my buildings, as weird as it sounds. Alright, so my last building, I think I'm going to put the bottom about right here. So trying to keep this vertical line vertical. I don't want to accidentally mess it up just because of that vanishing point. Let's make it as straight as I can. Okay, now I want to make the rest of the front of that building, which will be about, let's say about right here, trying to keep it straight and vertical. Okay, there's the front of my building. That was easy enough. Now I should erase my horizon line that's in the middle of that. Now let's draw the front of the next building. How close do I want it? Let's make them pretty close. There's the front of that building, and because it's closer, it's going to be a little bit wider, and even if it really wasn't in real life, but it looks like it is. Okay, I guess we're just going to have room for two buildings. No, I can do another building. Okay, let's do the next front. About right here. Uh-oh, look how crooked I've gotten. I'm going to straighten that up. That's going to look weird. Oh well, we all make mistakes. There's the front. And I'm going to say that the rest of that building is just going to go off the page. Okay, I have to fix this line. This is driving me nuts. How could I sit there and tell you, make sure your lines are straight, and then I draw a crazy crooked line like that? I don't even know. Let's try to make this straight now. Okay, so far I know this doesn't quite look like buildings yet. Here's how we're going to make them start to look like buildings. So the next line we're going to do is going to be the edge of the building, or the side that you're not, it's not the front, it's the side of the building that we're drawing next. So trying to keep this line straight with the horizon, I'm going to draw from the edge of this first front of the building just to the next building. That would be right there. Okay, so there's the front of the building, there's the side of the building. I'm going to do the same thing on this one. Trying to keep it nice and flat because it needs to be a perfect horizontal line. Bam. Okay, so now to really make it start looking like a building, I need to erase this line that I drew. That helped me draw the tops of my buildings. Okay, and also I need to get rid of this horizon line. This is why you should draw lightly, because see, I can't even really erase it all the way. Let's fill this back in. That should have went all the way. What was I thinking? Okay. Here's that. Here's this. And ta-da! Okay. So now we have some buildings on this side of the street, and you can add literally anything you want to this. So the way we're going to do it, though, is you kind of map out what you want in your head. So let's say I need a front door here, so I'll start right here probably. I'm going to do a front door, trying to keep that perfectly vertical to go along with the edge of the building. And I want the front door to be like right there maybe. The top of it is where we're going to need our vanishing point again. This is going to make sure that that line actually makes sense. I'm going to go ahead and draw the tops of the next door too. Let's see, let's do it about right here. I think my next door will go somewhere right there. Okay, keep that line vertical, Miss Dot. You can do this. Keep it vertical. Okay, and it does feel weird while you're drawing it. It feels like it's completely wrong, but I promise it's not. It will look just perfect when you're done. All right, so now we have doors. Give them a door handle. It's going to drive me nuts if they don't have door handles. Okay, let's do some windows. So to do our windows, I'll go ahead and draw the tops first. I don't want these to be exactly the same because that would be weird. So let's have this one do a couple of long windows. Maybe we'll even do 3 because it looks like I have a lot of extra room. Okay, keep these lines vertical, make sure they match up with the edge of your building. Okay, there we go, that looks pretty good. Now on the next one I think I'll do just some big classic skyscraper-y windows. Skyscraper-y, that's totally a real word. You know what? This is easiest if I just draw a really light outline of where the tops and the bottoms of the windows are going to go, and then I can go in and draw my vertical lines later. I know this seems like a lot. You may end up doing a few sketches before you actually get one that you're happy with, but that's okay, because this technique is so useful when you're wanting to draw something that looks like it's got a lot of dimension. And this is an easy way to make sure that all your lines will make sense, because I hate whenever I draw something and then I look back at it and for some reason, you can't hardly tell why, something just looks off. But this will really help. Our brain tries to trick us. And when you want to draw a building, your brain's going to tell you that buildings are square, so you should draw them perfectly square, but they don't look like that whenever you really look at them in real life. So this will be my first window. Vertical line, vertical line, vertical line. Let's do my next window. These are going to get crooked if I don't use a ruler. I can just tell. Yep, they were getting crooked. I knew it. Straight line, straight line. Now my next windows will start. I don't know. Pretty close. Here and here. They're going to look like they're a little bit wider than the last ones because that's just how foreshortening works. Even though they're probably exactly the same size, they just look a little bit wider when they're closer. Then lastly, got to increase that space between them a little because they're closer. And then I think I'll make this one all the way out to the edge. Awesome. Okay, now I can go back in and really darken these lines where I want them. All right. Oops, that one came up crooked. That's gonna bother me. Oh well. There's the front of that building. Let's say the front of this one doesn't have any windows because it'll take me forever to draw it, and we need to get on to the next part. Okay, so here's 2 buildings. 3 technically, but this one is some weird non-window building, CIA something, I don't know. Okay, on this side we're gonna do some trees. So the only thing I'm really gonna be mapping out here is where the tops of the trees should go. Because if you remember, things that are closer are always bigger, things that are far away look smaller. So, using that vanishing point, I want my tallest tree, well, it can't quite be as tall as the buildings. That wouldn't make a lot of sense, would it? So let's see, we'll make it about, I mean, I guess there could be trees as tall as the buildings before somebody says something. They probably could. Oh wow, that came out like perfect. How weird. Okay, so my tree that is farthest away, remember trees need to be vertical. The small tree at the end. This is a terrible bottom of a tree, but just for the sake of this drawing, we'll let it be. Now my next one is going to need to be considerably taller and bigger. So we'll let it go to here, make it much wider. This does not look like the bottom of a tree. What are you doing? Oh well. And also remember that overlapping, things that are far behind, need to kind of disappear behind the front objects. Okay, next one is going to be the biggest one of all. Still trying to keep these lines vertical, and it does get tricky. I will admit that. Okay, bottom of the tree. Okay, there's some horrible roots. Now, overlapping it from that last one, we'll just erase the part that goes behind. Easy peasy. Now I need to get rid of this horizon line. And get rid of the line that told me where to put the tops of the trees. Now we're looking good. Gotta redraw my tree. Okay, there we go. So now we have some pretty awesome perspective here. I've got trees that look like they're getting further away. Maybe when you have the sun perfectly behind. I don't think that would ever happen, but why not for the sake of this? We'll do some very cartoony clouds. I'm gonna go behind my building for a little extra effect. Maybe even add a couple birds flying in the distance. I always add birds, I don't know why. Okay, so when I went to color this, all this part would be grass and green in there. Oh, there's nothing over there because of this weird building. And then, of course, you've got your trees. And pretty much, yeah, that's how you do your 1-point perspective. I cannot wait to see what you guys come up with. Make sure you check out the examples to see how you can do more than just this really basic design. Have fun with it. If you make more than one sketch and you want to show me, I'd love to see them.